Hi, I'm Lillian. Welcome back to my channel, Ink and Pages. Today I'm going to be doing the mid-year book freakout tag, aka the video that is taking up like 90% of my booktube subscriptions right now, but I'm not really mad because it's a great tag and I really enjoy doing this video every year, so let's just jump in. Question 1 is, what is your favourite book you've read so far in 2022? I have not yet had any 5-star reads, but I have had 3 books that I gave 4.5 stars to, so they are by default my favourite books so far. They are A Darker Shade of Magic and A Gathering of Light by B.E. Schwab, and then also actually a Harry Potter fan fiction called Ignite, whose real author we may never know. But these books were all absolutely amazing, top notch, even if not quite literally in terms of ratings. I loved them all, would highly recommend, and yeah. Question 2 is, what is your favourite sequel you've read so far in 2022? I have not read many sequels, so I guess I'm gonna have to say A Gathering of Shadows again. This one, that's technically my favourite sequel I've read. I'll also actually say When the Tiger Came Down the Mountain by Ni Vo. This is the second book in her Singing Hills cycle series, and it was actually really good. I actually liked it more even than the first book in the series. It was just a bit more like magical for me, which I do enjoy. Question 3 is a new release that you haven't read yet but want to. I am not really good at keeping up with new releases. I have very few for this year that I'm actually interested in. So I'm gonna say the 7th, I think it's the 7th book in Shauna Maguire's Wayward Children series, and it is called Where the Drowned Girls Go. That came out in January. It's book 7, I think. I've only read the first 3, so I've got a bit of catching up to do before I can actually read this one, but yeah, that's what I'm gonna say. And question 4 is, what is your most anticipated release for the second half of this year? And I have 2 answers for this question actually. Firstly, I have the 3rd book in the Singing Hills cycle. That book is called Into the Riverlands by Ni Vo. I imagine this will follow a very similar kind of structure as the first 2 books. They follow this cleric called Chi, whose job is to travel around and record stories and history and that kind of thing. So I imagine we're going to be following them again in this 3rd book, and they're going to hear a story that's set in the Riverlands, I'm guessing. And I'm also very interested in this short story collection called The Gathering Dark. Can't remember who the authors are because it's like a whole bunch of them. They've all submitted a short story, and this is apparently folk horror. I am not someone who thought they enjoyed horror, but I think I've come to realise that I like a little taste of, gore and terror and dread every now and then, but only every now and then. These books I think are both coming out in September, October, but not 100% sure. Question 5 is your biggest disappointment of the year so far. I have annoyingly read quite a lot of disappointing books, especially in the last couple of months. Don't know what's going on there. The most disappointing, I would have to say, is The Memory Police by Yoko Ogawa, which is also actually my least favourite book I've read so far this year. This book was so disappointing because it has such a cool concept. Right, the idea of this book is it's set on a small Japanese island, and every now and then people wake up and they, as a community, have forgotten something. Examples are ribbons. They forgot one time. They also forgot perfume and stuff like that. And the memory police sort of enforce this forgetting and then take away anyone who hasn't lost their memories. Right, that sounds so cool. And what the author did was try her hardest to not write a cool book. It was really she did her worst, quite literally, to write the world's most boring, disappointing novel that was vaguely based on this idea. It was so boring and so disappointing and really did not do the central concept any justice whatsoever. So yeah, that got a big fat, I think, 1.5 stars from me. Not great. Question 6, however, is your biggest surprise of the year. And for this one, I'm going with Spinning Silver by Naomi Novik because I just really had no expectations going in, and it was just a very pleasant surprise. I mean, this wasn't a favorite book. I think I gave it 3 stars in the end, although to be honest, the more time passes, the more I am tempted to bump that up to 3.5, just because of how much I am still thinking about this book. So this was pitched as a Rumpelstiltskin retelling, and I was interested because I read her other book, Uprooted, which is kind of like a Beauty and the Beast retelling. I read that like 7 years ago at this point. But actually I wouldn't call Spinning Silver a Rumpelstiltskin retelling. I would call it just like a new fairy tale, really. I think that's what she did. She just came up with a brand new story with some, you know, fairy tale tropes and elements in it. But yeah, it was just a very surprising book. Really not what I expected, and actually I would highly recommend it. Question 7 is your new favorite author, either a debut author or one that is just new to you. My answer is, I think, both of those things, and it is Bolu Babalola. I read her short story collection, Love in Colour, and even though I did not love the genre, it was not the genre I thought it was going into it. The reason I kept reading and kept actually really enjoying myself was because of her beautiful writing. That was really what kept me coming back and like kept me really invested even after I was a bit disappointed, because I thought it was fantasy, I thought it was mythology and folklore. It's not, it's very much like contemporary romance more than anything else. But her writing was, yeah, just really beautiful. So I think I'm probably gonna end up picking up whatever it is that she writes next, even if I know in advance that it's not a genre I'm particularly drawn to. I am very interested to see what she does. Question 8 is, who is your newest favourite character? I am going to go with Grace Bernard, or Grace Bernard, don't know how actually you say her surname, from How to Kill Your Family by Bella Mackie. I adore Grace as a main character. She was the most fun perspective I've read from, I think, all year. I just loved her. She's a complete psychopath. I'm pretty sure she has murdered 6 members of her family when this book starts, yet she is in prison for a crime she did not commit. And I think about her every day. I hope she's doing well. Question 9 is your favourite book adaptation you've seen. June. It was June, hands down, no questions. I finally saw it in the cinema with my dad and my brother in like February, which was a month after it first came out. I think it was like 3 or 4 months after it was initially released. So we managed to find somewhere where it was still showing. We went to the cinema, and if any film deserves the cinematic experience, it is this one. It was incredible. I fucking loved it. No, I do not plan on reading the book or the series, and like honestly, after seeing that masterpiece, why would I? Maybe that's blasphemy to say on BookTube, but like when the film's that good, you don't need to read the book. I loved it. I came out of the cinema afterwards and I was like, I am not going to be able to function very well for a little while because I'm just thinking about what we've seen. But I'm also very excited for the second half of this year, when we have House of the Dragon coming to us in August, and also The Rings of Power starting in September. And I cannot overstate how much my love for Lord of the Rings has increased like 50 times over the last year. It's just, I'm obsessed, and it better be good. It better be good. Question 10 is a book that made you cry, and actually I have not shed any tears while reading so far this year, but I am for this question gonna say again A Gathering of Shadows by V.E. Schwab, because there was some very good angst in this book, which I forgot about because this was a reread. I completely forgot that was in there, but it is actually a very angsty book, to be honest. And if I had been in a more fragile state of mind while reading it, then I could have cried. And question 11 is a book that made you happy. So I'm going to go with One by One by Ruth Ware. Not because the idea of being snowed into a remote chalet while my colleagues are slowly picked off one by one from around me, but because it was a great, exciting, fun thriller, great mystery, and the reading experience was very enjoyable, if not, you know, the actual plot points. Question 12 is the most beautiful book you have bought or received so far this year. I have 2 options for this. Firstly, I have How to Kill Your Family by Bella Mackie, you know, home of the amazing Grace Bernard / Grace Bernard. I just love pink, so this really tickles my fancy. I, however, do not like the sprayed edges. I think black was a weird choice. I think it looks ugly. The first time I read it, I was having to like peel the pages apart because they were all stuck together because of the sprayed edges. Ignoring that, the actual cover I think is great. And also I have The Mad Woman's Ball by Victoria Mass, which despite being actually a very disappointing and frustrating book, you can't deny how gorgeous this cover is. It is beautiful. It really is. Question 13 is, what is your favorite video you have made so far this year? And why would I plug one video of mine when I can plug 3? So I'm gonna say my bookshelf tour I did in, I think, February. Really like that video. I also really enjoyed the one I did, which was a tier ranking video for books I read because I saw them recommended on BookTube. That was really fun. And also my most recent video, my reading journal like update. I really like how that turned out. I'm really proud of that video. And finally, question 14 is, what books do you have to read by the end of the year? For me, this is just A Conjuring of Light by V.E. Schwab. It was a goal of mine to finally finish this trilogy this year. Obviously, I've reread the first 2 books. They are amazing. And I just have A Conjuring of Light left to go now. And honestly, I think I'm gonna love it. It is an absolute brick. It's as big as my head. I think it's like 700, if not 800 pages long. But I think it's gonna be amazing. And I think it could end up being that elusive 5-star read for me. The one I've been waiting for this whole year that hasn't come yet. I mean, yes, of course, I do have a lot of books which I've owned for actually somehow longer than A Conjuring of Light without reading. I have a lot of mythology and folklore books that I could save for this question, but I'm not going to. It's A Conjuring of Light or nothing. So those are all of my answers to this tag. I kind of had to cobble together a couple of different slight variations of this tag to get those questions. There are a couple of different versions going around which I've seen, so I was like, why not just put all the questions together for myself? But thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.